That's
All right, we're
facts.
moving on to our second segment. It's actually one of my favorite things like floating around social media right now. It's a Twitter trend right now. It's like titled like you just had to be there. I'm sure you guys are seeing it, but it's my favorite thing. So we're gonna do that on Straight Facts Podcast right now. All go around and just name something in sports you just had to be there for it. Jake, go ahead. You go first.
Well, I mean, it's ironic that we literally just got done talking
There
about
you
the
go.
Knicks because when you brought this up, the first thing I thought of you just had to be there. You don't understand unless you were there, you experienced it. The 2012-2013 New York Knicks basketball team is the best NBA 2K team ever assembled.
Ever. Like I'm talking lethal. Like I'm talking
Ever.
You go up and down like that roster. Like, and okay, like forget about like actual basketball.
Mhm.
That's not that 2K does not translate to regular basketball. But when you look at players' strengths and the cheese and how to utilize that, just going up and down this roster, J.R. Smith, sniper, also had hops back
2K
then.
God. 2K
Iman
God.
Shumpert, very underrated, super athletic.
Mhm.
You had an aging Jason Kidd. You obviously have the stars of Amari Stoudemire and Carmelo Anthony. Those go without saying. And then when you look on the defensive end, you had, I'm not sure if he was Defensive Player of the Year this year, but Tyson Chandler, who was a candidate back then, great around the rim, Marcus Camby. And then the crown jewel of the Knicks team, the sniper, Steve Novak,
Cool.
absolute
Legend.
monster. He's the best 60 overall player
Legend.
in the history of NBA. You could
You
book
did
that.
not tell your 2K story because you did not pop off with Steve Novak as a 60 overall.
Legend.
No way. No
Legend.
way.
So they used to have a mode, and I'm not sure if they still have it, where it was a team up, you and 5 friends could play, and everyone claims a position. So I was the power forward position. I can only play as power forwards. That was Amari Stoudemire, but I want to shoot threes, so I put in Steve Novak, and I was playing with a friend who was small forward. He had Carmelo Anthony, obviously the star of the team. And every time that we went down the floor, I would spam the call pass button, and the ball would make its way around to Steve Novak, and it would go up immediately. It would go up immediately. After like 3-4 possessions, I had hit like a couple threes in a row, and at that point I realized I'm going off. Ended up going for, I think, 50, 60 points. I don't remember the exact number. It was definitely over 50. And it's an all-time 2K like story for me. I will always remember the time I torched with Steve Novak online.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
The Steve Novak was stupid because that was back in 2K where if you were 6'10", it didn't matter who tried to contest your shot. If you were taller than the dude, it was going in. And then he has the highest 3-point rating. I have many stories just like that playing team up with my friends. And I actually want to put an honorable mention to the year before because Landry Fields was on the team the year before on 2K. And Landry Fields was also a 2K
Green
god.
beans.
He could
Green
windmill.
diet,
I don't know
all
why.
green diet.
I never saw him dunk ever, but he could windmill in 2K.
All green diet. And Steve Novak had one of those 2K releases that was just so easy to time up. Like right in front of his head, nothing crazy going on, quick release, and that Joe was cash out.
Water.
He's Klay Thompson before Klay Thompson.
That's hilarious. I can just imagine you playing 2K and then having like the Austin Rivers hoop mixtape moment where you look at the cameras. I'm about to go off. I'm about to go off right now.
Yeah, it was that.
I'm about to go off. All right, Kyle, you just had to be there for it.
You just had to be there, and it pains me because this brought some hurt to me. But it's the 2010-2011 Big East Conference.
Yes,
This is historically, in terms of bids to the NCAA tournament, the greatest conference ever. They sent 11 teams to the NCAA tournament. No other conference has ever done 10, and only 3 other conferences has done 9. And by the way, one of those was the Big East the very next year. But so this was the year of Connecticut, obviously, Kemba Walker. So you had the team coming in 21-9 into the Big East tournament. Not even sure if they're going to make it. Runs the Big East tournament. They had the, cardiac Kemba step back against Pitt.
You salty about that against
I don't like to talk about it. Make it to the tournament after winning the Big East championship as a 9 seed and then run the whole tournament. I mean, this was magical back then. I mean, Pitt was a 1 seed. Notre Dame was a 2 seed. Syracuse, UConn were 3 seeds. Louisville, whatever.
Cool.
Go down the list. Every single team was good. Villanova was in there, and
Notre Dame in that conference too. Notre Dame still in the conference.
I know we weren't around for what old heads will tell you what was the Big East heyday, but I did live those late Big East. Being a Pitt fan, I think James, you're a Nova fan, right? Jake, I'm not sure if you are, but those were the days, man. Those were the days of Big East basketball back then, and really good basketball. And broke my heart a lot of
Yeah,
times. I'm not gonna lie, because we never made it past
like
the Elite
you
Eight.
just had to, not even from the standpoint of like even in like sending out that many teams to the NCAA tournament, but just like all these powerhouses now of Syracuse and Louisville, and Notre Dame and UConn. Like these teams all used to be in one conference. Like it used to all used to be in one conference in the Big East. Like regular season play for the Big East in those like 3-4 years was like the NCAA tournament. Like every other week you're playing a top 25, damn near top 15 team.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you had like Marquette would win games. Cincinnati was in there. They would win games. Yeah, it hurt. And what's crazy is looking at the teams, there's only one team that really fell off, and it's my Pitt Panthers. I mean, we were the 1 seed like 3 straight years, and that was only like 10 years ago. And now we
that's like Ashton Gibbs territory.
That was Ashton Gibbs. Yep. That was that year.
By the way, Jake is a Nova fan. Bring him to any Nova basketball game you'll see. I brought him to the Finn against when Marcus Howard was a junior. We went to the Finn and watched Marquette play Nova. This man was screaming his head off. Like
Primo!
That's the Primo game. Yes, sir.
What's the Nova home stadium?
The Finn Pavilion.
On their campus. The pavilion. My dad used to call it the penitentiary. We used to go and we went to a Pitt Nova game. I remember when I was young. That was a fun time.
That's funny. All right, mine, you just had to be there for it, is the Lob City Clippers 2012 to 2016 Los Angeles Clippers. Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and then in the corners, Matt Barnes, Jamal Crawford coming off the bench. I mean, you want to talk about an exciting team to watch. Ask anyone who was around to watch it. This is one of the most exciting basketball teams for that 3-4 year stretch that we've ever seen in the NBA. And made alley-oops a part of like a half-court game. Alley-oops were a transition thing. It was a 2-on-1, 3-on-2 thing you did in the open court in transition. And the Clippers brought it into their half-court game. Literally would run sets to just throw it up in the air because they had 2 people who could go get it where no one else could. And that was a young Blake Griffin and a young DeAndre Jordan. I mean, it was literally highlight material every single time they played. You were getting a Sports Center top 10 highlight. It was so much fun to watch. And like, you can watch the highlights all you 100%. Want to, but you just had to be there to actually see it live. The fact that like, these people do this 12 to 14 times a game or just throwing lobs up. Crazy.
Yeah, that was different. And actually, going back to Jake's point, we want to talk about 2K God Team contenders. Those Clippers teams were up there. But my favorite dunk of all time, and you guys probably know where it's already coming from, is when DeAndre Jordan absolutely baptized Brandon Knight off a Chris Paul lob. The place goes nuts. DeAndre Jordan hits him with the stank face. And then after the game, Brandon Knight goes, "Yeah, I'd jump again every single time."
Would you really get buried again? I mean, no,
if anyone listening has never seen that dunk, just look up DeAndre Jordan, Brandon Knight. I promise you it'll be the first one. It is.
I mean, if you go to YouTube and type in DeAndre Jordan, it's probably gonna fill it in for you because I mean that was it was the best. Remember when SportsCenter used to do the best of the best? I think that's the second longest running best of the best. I
remember that.
Like it was on SportsCenter for literally months, and I've seen people dunk on people, but like DeAndre Jordan put Brandon Knight through the floor. Like Brandon Knight bounced off the hardwood. Like it was he was parallel in the air at one point. It was the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen with his offhand too. DJ's left hand, he dunked it with his right.
Yeah,
had to be there for it.
And I do think, I just want to say, and I know this hurts, James, like I am shocked that team never broke through. Like it seemed like they were the heir apparent.
This team lead to the Rockets in 2015, 2016, and it never recovered from it.
Just a brutal series of events, one after the other in the postseason. Seemed like every year. I mean, just a really tough way to go out. But hey, I mean, you had to be there for it, and it was a ton of fun when it was happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those teams where, even now, I mean, it's 7-8 years later, it's one of those teams we're going to look back on, and you're going to look down that roster and you're going to be like, they went to a conference semifinals? That's it? Like, they never went even to a conference finals? Like, yeah, bro, like, that shit was heartbreaking. All the talent in the world, they just hit a wall every single time.
Yeah.
It's not tough. I can't really explain it. That 3-1 lead hurts. I was so glad the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead. Because I was like, everyone like low key forgets that we blew one first. But I'm telling you, you just had to be there for it.